Diesel We the People News, not attorney, not giving legal advice, okay? Just opinion, hearsay, do your own research. Use that Second Amendment, arm yourself with knowledge. Never look straight forward, always look around you, be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Alright, let's proceed forward. Keep this short and sweet, just like I am.
Thing too in Title 26. This is Frisia situs, and then I think this definition goes with something else, so I missed this part of it, but you can look up that word. Tax situs, a state or other jurisdiction that has a substantial connection with assets that are subject to taxation. Now, if the Constitution is for the federal people on the federal lands, or...
Alright, let's pause there for a second, people. Alright, Boston Tea Party. Okay, we the people, even though we didn't have our own country at the particular time, they was mad at the king for taxing with tea. Okay, now, people, please, for the love of God, and yourself and your family, alright, if they was mad about tea taxes, if they can wake up from then to today and see all the taxes we have, wouldn't they be absolutely disgusted in our country? And we just been playing along, getting along, and all that kind of stuff, and letting all these corporations and letting the government overpower us through the corporations. And then we got Democrats and Republicans, people, that's playing the same stupid game to violate your rights. And then you go out there, instead of just fighting and voting and arguing your case in front of your local government, all right? Because it don't matter if it's Biden or Trump, they have not enough authority to help you. The only authority they have enough of is to violate your rights, okay? And that's with the help of the Senate and Congress. After all, they kidnapped the Senate from you, or from the state, and said it's up to us to vote for them. But the Senate itself, I never got to talk to them. So how do they represent me? Okay, I never got to talk to my congressman. So again, how did they represent me? So the overall whelming deal is, how do they represent us if they don't listen or speak to us? Sit and think about it. The only way they can do it is when you go down to your local government and tell your local government to tell the state government to kiss your butt. Because even my representative in the state, I have never spoken to. I've spoken to one. All right, and he was really good. And it was stupid people voting him out many years ago. Okay? Let's go.
States, then there is no federal constitution for individual people. However, there's a big however in there, and that's going to be something that I go over in another video, and I think it's related to the incorporation, where it was said that all debts are payable everywhere.
Okay, and me being educated, let's dig in a little bit of corporation and learning. The corporation part of the state and your municipality and all that, yes, they're a corporation. But in order to be a corporation, to conduct business with another corporation. So, like your roads, all right? Well, they must be a corporation to enter a contract with another corporation to pave your roads, okay? Now, can you have their own little people there? Yeah. But when it's a major work, like interstates and all that, it has to be a major corporation. That's the original intent of the government being a corporation. It was not put there to force us in that citizen nexus of the corporation body. Because we, the people, are their authority. And we keep saying that, well, their authority, their authority. We've been brainwashed. We are their authority. Not against government, but they need to get back in honor and stand in pride of representing ourselves and in honor.
Must there be some special limitation or provision in respect to the payments? Debts as such have no situs or locus, but accompany the creditor everywhere, and authorize a demand upon the debtor everywhere, and that in general the debtor is bound to seek the creditor. So situs, as far as credit goes with the person, it's a movable thing, not a location, not a fixed location. And then we have personality, and at the bottom it says see situs. So let's see what it says about personality. A term used to designate that quality of a law which concerns the condition, state, or capacity of persons. An action in personality is one brought against the right person or the person against whom it lies. The personality of laws is a phrase used by foreign jurists to designate all laws concerning the condition, state, or capacity of
And again, people, you got to appreciate the attorneys coming up with these things to even put personality in this crap. Right? So, even just the simple word of personality has been transferred into some form of a government statute.
as distinguished from the reality of laws, which means all laws concerning property or things to express the idea that the operation of a law is universal in its term. It is termed a personal statute, and on the other hand, to express the idea that its operation is confined to the country of its origin, it is designated a real statute. So I wonder, how many statutes are we following that are real that we're following as if they're personal, and vice versa? Livermore used the words personality and reality, and Henry used the words personality and reality, or realty. Story preferred the former as less likely to lead to mistakes, as in our law, personality and realty are used exclusively to designate personal and real property. See situs.
Okay, so even real property, okay, goes under the category of the citizen nexus, right? So we call real property that can be touched, and so does they. However, it also goes into real estate. Okay, real estate's a business. So what they're saying, even if you own your home right out, they are classifying your house as a business because they're calling it real estate, real property, not private. All right.
Situs. Situation, location, generally property, in order to be subjection of taxation, must be within the jurisdiction of the power assuming the tax. To regard to tangible property, the old rule was mobilia sequitur personam, to be often misleading, by which personal property was supposed to follow the person of its owner and to be subject to the law of the owner's domicile. For the purpose of taxation, however, it has long been held that personal property may be separated from its owner, and he may be taxed on its account at the place where the property is, although it is not the place of his own domicile, and even if he is not a citizen or resident of the state which imposes a tax. The question of the locality of choses in choses in action has, it is said, come up most frequently in the following classes of cases. 1. those relating to the administration of estates of deceased persons, and cases of gifts by will or personal property in a particular locality. And it looks like there was more here, and I didn't get it. Tangible property, that which may be felt or touched. It may necessarily be corporeal, but it may be real or personal. See tax, situs, movable. A tax imposed by a state upon tangible property within its limits, the owner of which is a non-resident, is not a personal charge against the owner, but must be enforced against the property. People v. Shenango Corporation, First Parish in Sudbury. And such personality cannot be taxed unless it has an actual situs within the state so as to be under the...
Now, reading that case law once before, that was actually under a business, and that attached to the business. It wasn't really your own private property. It was due to the case of a business, I think. Okay, it's been a while, so I may be wrong and incorrect about that. Do your own research.
Section of its laws. So that's interesting. A personality cannot be taxed unless it has an actual situs within the state. The role or fiction of law that personal property, more especially choses in action, has no situs away from the domicile of the owner, at which, if it is deemed to be present, originated according to the Savanti in Rome, and acquired the designation of immobilia personam sequuntur, but its applicability to property was never held to extend beyond Roman territory. Subsequently, it became a device of international comity, which it has been declared was subsequently adopted from considerations of general convenience and policy and for the benefit of commerce. It was never invented with a...
Right? The benefit of commerce, business, okay? Your private property is not supposed to be taxed here in the United States of America.
View to its being used as a rule to govern and define the application and scope of taxation, nor was it intended to have any other meaning than that for the purposes of the sale and distribution of property and act, agreement, or authority, which is sufficient in law where the owner resides, shall pass the property in the place where the property is, more especially to facilitate the distribution of decedent's estates. So situs, taxes upon property having a situs within its territory and so employed, and the franchise of a corporation so employed. Foreign creditor, one who is resident in a state or country foreign to that of the domicile of the debtor or the situs of his property. The essential service of foreign attachment laws is to reach and arrest the payment of what is due and might be paid to a non-resident to the defeat of his creditors. To do this, he must go to the domicile of his debtor and can only do it under the laws and procedure enforced there. This is...
Again, if you look up that case, I'm led to believe it was the corporation. Sorry, y'all. Okay? So a lot of these things that they're talking about was actually the corporations that was supposed to be taxed, and the corporations arguing about the tax. And they keep saying, no, there's a citizen, there's a this and this attached to it. But if you really read some of these cases, majority of them is actually due to corporations arguing about the taxes, not the private people, not the private property.
Legal necessity and considerations of situs are somewhat artificial, if not artificial, whatever of substance there is must be with the debtor. He and he only has something in his hands, that something is a res and gives character to the action, as known in the nature of a proceeding in rem.
Now, I was just to say, RAM was in RAM jurisdiction. So let's dig a little bit deeper in that, okay, for clarification. So when you're making a house payment to your bank, and the bank wants to come and confiscate the property, right, due to you falling behind, well, they're going to be in RAM jurisdiction on that case, okay? But that's what the assessor's doing, right? And their county and the city and all that attorney is putting you in RAM jurisdiction. However, how am I obligated on my private property that's not got a situs and nexus attached to it because it's not committing income? Okay, you don't get, they don't get just to tax property because they can. Now, when I was younger, well, we ought to be grateful. We're allowed to go buy property and own property, but in other countries, they don't get to own their own land. Well, neither do we. I mean, Jesus, if you got to make some form of payment to keep your property, you do not own it. Okay? Sorry, y'all.
Dictionary. Situs, noun, the place to which, for purposes of legal jurisdiction or taxation, a property belongs. Title 26. Situs of property subject to lien. For purposes of paragraphs 1 and 4, property shall be deemed to be situated. Real property, in the case of real property, at its physical location, or B, personal property, in the case of personal property, whether tangible or intangible, at the residence of the taxpayer at the time the notice of lien is filed. So remember, the federal government has authority over the federal lands, and that's where the Constitution applies. Let's see. But that we may know whether a contract as to its subject matter is valid or invalid, we shall refer to the laws which are impressed upon the things concerning which there is question, that is, to the customer or law of the place. Situs. The same rule obtains in quasi-contracts as in express contracts. Situs.
Right? In impressed contract, right? I mean, that's what kings do, y'all. Our judges became kings. Our government has made themselves kings. Well, you gave us the impression that you're a taxpayer.
Position, location, site, as for jurisdiction. So who has the power to make the law? Where you sit is where the power to make the law is. There are two kinds of goods, some movable, some immovable. The former take their law in the person, the domicile of the person, the latter from the situs of each place, so that no regard being had to the place of origin, death, or domicile alike of the heirs, as of the decedent himself, they shall be distributed according to the laws of the places where the goods either are or are understood to be. If therefore the tax and its nature
All right, we'll go to the next one.